This video is the second of a sequence of sessions titled How to Release Pain and Suffering, and I'd like to recommend that you review the first video 7a of this series before going on to this session. In this second session of my series How to Release Pain and Suffering, I am making 3 suggestions how we can lessen our discomfort, soothe our suffering, recover our balance, and ultimately regain our well-being. I am also introducing some public figures who encountered some of the most horrific atrocities to which humans could possibly be exposed. They were able to heroically face, endure, survive, and rise above their adversities. In the process, they demonstrated extraordinary moral and ethical values and principles, virtue and dignity, civility and integrity, humanness, benevolence, and empathy. In short, the most noble characteristics a human could possibly possess. They managed to become ambassadors, activists, and spokespeople, championing their causes through dedicated efforts and helping innumerable people whose plight is comparable. They are role models par excellence. Perhaps not all of my insights and anecdotes will comfort you, but I trust that some will. Contemplate and internalize those that ease your pain, and ignore the rest. It is my heartfelt desire that at least one of my reflections will bring you some relief. Now, how could we console ourselves in the face of hardship? To start off, there is a saying, every cloud has a silver lining. Nothing tends to be all bad, and most misfortunes have some good aspects to them. Let's try to find them and, if we can, reflect on them and make them our mantra. Being grateful, especially in times of anguish, will help us to not get completely lost in our suffering, to not be entirely overwhelmed by sorrow, as it were, to come up for air every once in a while. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, Germany's premier polymath or Renaissance man, wrote, "Even from the stones that are put in your way, you can build something beautiful." And I recently read, "Great adversities are put in our way not to stop us, but to call out our courage and strength." The wise Taoist might use the example of a mountain brook encountering a boulder on its way into the valley, and ever so gently, skillfully, elegantly, and nonchalantly circumventing what could be considered an obstacle, and continuing on its way as if nothing had happened. This is detachment and joy, or joyful detachment, and we can learn to be that way. Let the meandering brook, let nature's wisdom be our guiding light. If, in your pain, you don't manage to find your cloud's silver lining in order to relieve some of your distress, you could try to direct your thoughts to aspects of your life that are pleasant, that are still working well. My Egyptian friend, a former pen pal of old, way back before the time of the internet, is an entrepreneur in the tourism industry. His business suffered tremendously from Egypt's recent downturn in tourism due to the political, economic, and social changes in the nation, and the wars in nearby countries such as Libya and Syria. When he and I talk or meet, instead of complaining about his misfortune and the uncontrollable factors to which his business is exposed, he tells me instead how grateful he is that he is healthy and strong and experienced, and capable of meeting the challenges. He commends his competent staff of specialists for providing him with the expert advice he needs to find solutions. He cherishes his family and is thankful that they are well and supporting him wholeheartedly. And he is so pleased that his children are studying diligently and working capably. Viktor Frankl, an Austrian neurologist and psychiatrist of Jewish faith, was a Holocaust survivor, having spent 3 years in 3 different Nazi concentration camps. His suffering and the suffering of fellow prisoners made him realize that even in the most painful and dehumanized situation, life had potential meaning. He wrote in his autobiography, quote, "If a prisoner felt that he could no longer endure the realities of camp life, he would find a way out in his mental life, an invaluable opportunity to dwell in the spiritual domain, the one the SS were unable to destroy." If prisoners were capable, as Dr. Frankl observed, to somewhat evade the horrors of a German concentration camp by turning inward into the recesses of their mental, their spiritual realms, how much easier must it be for us to use the power of our mind to distract ourselves deliberately from our difficulties, which in most cases cannot remotely compare to the terrors that were forced on millions of people throughout history, often for years or even entire lifetimes, and which unfortunately continue to this day in what we consider a civilized world. Perhaps you can't follow either of the first 2 suggestions, but please do realize that it could always be much worse. In a peculiar way, perhaps this recognition will make you feel a little better. I am aware that you may be losing a loved one to a debilitating illness, as my Japanese friend Eiko is losing her friend to ALS, and as I have lost both, my dear mom to Alzheimer's and my friend Judy to cancer. But think, for instance, of single children becoming orphans in an instant when both their parents get killed in an accident. Conversely, thousands of Chinese parents lost their only child in the tragic earthquake in China, in Sichuan, in 2009. It was said that a whole generation was lost in the region, when the children were crushed to death by collapsing school buildings. I remember that the mayor of one of the towns that had completely been demolished had lost his wife, his children, and his parents in the disaster, his entire extended family. The camera team was trying to draw him into a conversation, but he apologized profusely and pleaded frantically to get back to try to save those trapped under the rubble of the flattened houses. He could not revive his loved ones, but he could attempt to save the lives of others. It was said that this man hadn't slept for 48 hours, and that the shock of his own tragedy combined with his profound sense of duty, drove him on to superhuman accomplishments. Another person who has never given up and made the very best of her fate is Waris Dari, who was born into a nomad family in the Somali desert. When she was 5, the barbaric torture and horrifying cruelty of FGM, or female genital mutilation, was forced on her. 8,000 girls become victims of this heinous crime every day, which adds up to 3 million girls every year. The World Health Organization estimates that between 100 and 140 million women worldwide are mutilated for life. At the age of 13, after being forced to marry a man who was old enough to be her grandfather, Waris fled to England and was discovered by one of Britain's leading fashion photographers. Once a celebrity, she openly revealed the horrors of her mutilation and raised public awareness to this torture. She wrote her autobiography, Desert Flower, which became a movie. She was appointed a UN Special Ambassador for the elimination of female genital mutilation and established the Desert Flower Foundation in support of her work. Waris received numerous prestigious prizes and awards for her unremitting dedication. She traveled the world extensively, presenting at conferences, meeting with international celebrities, national leaders, and Nobel Prize laureates, and generating large donations for her mission in the process. Waris' example demonstrates that, yes, there is life after enduring 1. Severe violation of the right to live. 2. Severe violation of the right to be free from torture and cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment. 3. Severe violation of a human's right to health, security, and physical integrity. 4. Severe violation of the human rights of children and of women. 5. Extreme form of discrimination against girls and women. Let's make the best of our misery. Let's not give in. Let's not give up. Let's take it day by day. If others can do it, so can we. And let's help others if we can. If you know of No More Excuses stories that might bring consolation and encouragement to those in pain, please contact me by writing to cultivatingappreciation@gmail.com. One word, cultivating appreciation. Thank you. May all those who suffer be blessed.